good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, based on wherever you are. So there was not a major announcement, but I was searching for it for one of the thing that I was trying to do, and found out that Business Central 25 on-prem is also released. So in today's video, we will be talking about how you can download it, and we'll walk through around system requirement and installation process of Business Central 2024 Release Wave 2, aka BC25 on-prem. So if you are a customer on cloud, or if you are a partner who only deals with cloud customers, maybe this video is not for you, and I'll see you in the other video. But if you have customers on-prem, stay with me and we'll go through the process. Before we move into it, there's quite a few discussions that are happening on social media, especially on LinkedIn and Twitter, about is there an sunset date announced for Business Central on-prem, and should Microsoft announce it sooner than later? So as far as I know, there is no sunset date available as of today from Microsoft for Business Central on-prem. I am also in favor of announcing it as soon as possible, so that at least our customers and partners have the right set of information and they can pass the right set of message to the customers. We all know it's cloud first, Business Central is cloud first. So I'm hoping, after reading all the discussions that are happening on social media, that there will be a sunset for Business Central on-prem sometime in future. But if you have heard otherwise, let me know into the comments. But okay, let's get back to what we were here for. So if you search for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central 2024 Release Wave 2 download, you will end up on this page. Don't try to copy the URL. I'll put it into the pinned comment and the description of this video. As of today, the CU0, which is the initial version or the general available version of Business Central 25, is available. Here you can choose what you want to download based on whatever your region is, based on what countries you serve or where your customers are. You can choose one or multiple product DVDs that you need. For the demonstration, I'll be using the North American or the US product DVD. Seems logged for me right now, but it does work. I have already downloaded it. So you can just go and check the version that you want and then hit the download. If you want multiple version, you can check multiple and then download them. This is available for AT, AU, BE, and you can read it further, right? If you are on W1 version, and then there is a W1 DVD also. The link will be in the pinned comment. I have already downloaded it. Here it is, BC25CU0 US, and the next thing that you should do is extract it. Now, I have renamed the DVD. When you download it, it comes up with a big name. For all these years, after doing all these different versions of installation, one thing I have learned is you should always keep your product DVD while you're installing as closer to the root drive. So right now, if you see, I'm on my C drive and I'm extracting it here. The reason why that is important is because during the installation process, the assemblies or the component that need to be installed get copied from the product DVD to your installation folder, which is generally C program files, x86 and other parts of it, right? And Windows has a limit of how long a path can be. So you should keep your product DVD at the root so that the file path, when it is copying, does not go beyond the Windows limit of the file length. And also rename the folder so that it again impacts the file path. So what I'll do is, I know what I'm installing, I'll just change it to BC25 once it is extracted. So now every file that will get copied from this folder to my installation media will only have to have this root path rather than a bigger path. So if you have seen installation errors in the past, make sure to keep this in mind while you're installing, because this can cause errors if you just extract it on an internal path and then have the full name of it. But what we do before we install, we check the system requirements. So let's come into here. Again, the link will be available on the first pinned comment and the description of video. So the following section talks about the minimum hardware and software requirement for Business Central 25. Minimum means that the later version of the required software are also supported. Okay, we'll surely need a web client component. For that, you'll need, these are the supported browser, which is Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Safari for Mac OS. So you can use any of those. Cookies and JavaScript should be enabled on your browser when you are using it for Business Central. Microsoft recommend you to use a stable channel version of web browser so that you have no issues. We're not going to do mobile app, but if you're going to do it, you can read it about it. There's a desktop app that you can also install that also requires the same components, more or less. Office application, if you're doing export to Excel, send to Excel, edit in Excel and things like that, or Word layouts and all, then you need the Excel 21 or Excel on web or mobile. And for editing in Excel, you need Excel Edit, which is on Office 2021 and higher. Same for the Word and Outlook. AL development. If you're going to do development on that server, these are the Windows operating system requirement for AL development, which is 10, 11, Server 2019 and 2022. You need VS Code, which you all know, and AL language extension, which is available on the marketplace. The space needed for this VS Code component is 500 MB, minimum of 4 core CPU, and then memory is pretty interesting because that's based on what kind of development you are doing. If you are doing basic development, it's 16 GB. If you are developing for locally deploying smaller extension, which means less than 1000 objects, then again 16 GB. And if it is more than that, then you need 32 to 64 GB, which is minimum requirement. You may need higher on it. Reports need report builder for SQL Server. If you don't have it, it comes with a product DVD. You can install it. For creating Word layouts, you will need Word, and same for the Excel layouts. Now let's come down to the actual component that we need, which is Business Central Server. Now I get a lot of questions into it. That I have a Windows Home Edition or I have a Student Edition. There are different editions of Windows. To install Business Central on-prem, you need either Pro, Enterprise or Education version of Windows 11 or 10 if you're talking about the client operating system, which are commonly available on every machines, right? It is not going to get installed on a Home Edition of your PC. So if you have Home Edition, you are not allowed to install Business Central on-prem. For the server, it supports Business Central Server 2022, Data Center or standard version only. Again, these are the hardware requirements or the memory requirement into it. And you need a .NET Framework 8.0. If it doesn't come, it will be part of the product DVD if you don't have it. Same here, you need Report Builder and .NET Framework. For the IIS, where you have your web client hosted, you need web server component, which again requires Windows 11 Pro, Enterprise or Education, and same here. And you need IIS 10.0, .NET 8.0, same like above. For database component, where your database is stored, you will need a database compatibility level of 150 and 160, not prior to that. And let's see what else is here. Yeah, so SQL Server 2019 Express Edition is the minimum requirement, and then you can have other versions of SQL, but SQL Server 2019 higher. Okay, ADCS, we're not talking about it. Outlook, okay, that's it. I think I have everything which I needed. I'll put the link into the pinned comment and the description of it. Let's get ahead and install this. Okay, so first thing first, you get into the setup, right click on it and say run as administrator. You get to the welcome screen, which talks about the license. You read through the license, click on accept. If you want to use Business Central Online, the on-premise option also gives you an option to get a free online trial for 30 days. Or if you want to install on-prem, then choose advanced installation option. Inside that, if you're doing it for your machine, to do everything on your machine for trial or for development purposes and all, you can surely choose install demo. I don't like to do that. I would like to choose what component I want to install. So I'll say choose an installation option. Here you see different options. So if you are installing your Business Central on different servers, like you have a different IIS server, you have a different uh, web server or and a different service tier, then you install different component on different machines. When you choose client, then it installs the Business Central web server component for connecting with the web client. And if you install server, that'll install your administration shell and web server component. Developer, if you choose, will only install the AL language environment, and custom if you have a configuration that you have already saved and you would like to use it. I prefer to customize the developer option, so I'll choose that. Because this is a single machine installation for me, you can install it 3-tier or 2-tier, but I'm going to install the AL language environment. This will add the VSIX file for BC25 on my system. The server component will install the middle tier, which is where your services are configured and executed, which connects to your database. The SQL Server database component creates a demo database on your SQL Server, and web server component install the IIS prerequisite that are needed for it. So I need all of them, and I'll click next. Now let's go back and see what happens when you choose server. When you use server, it only install these two things. If you want to use two servers, one or three servers, let's say one for the SQL, one for the middle tier, and one for the web server component, you can come here and say not available. This machine in that case will only get the middle tier. Then if you are installing the web server component, then you can choose this, and when you hit next, then you have to provide the details of the service tier and other component which are prerequisite for that. Yes, and let's go to my option. Let's click next. Now here it asks you what is your destination folder. The default is C program file 686 and so on and so forth. The server component where you're installing it, what you want the service to be called. You can rename it if you want it. By default it's BC250. Service account, this account is used to run the services. If you're using a different account, then you need to provide a password, and if you're using certain kind of authentication, then you also have to provide the service certificate thumbprint if you want an HTTPS connection. Then there are 5 ports needed now. One is the management service port, which manages your services. By default it is 7045. If you already have another version of Business Central installed which is using this version or this port, then do update this port. And I'm going to allow this through the firewall, and then I don't know why, but Microsoft changed this to be 7085. I like it to be as the old 7046. You can keep it as it is if that port is not used by any other Business Central services that you might have installed. SOAP service, this is used for SOAP web services. I'm not going to enable it right now. Same for the OData web service, and this is for the developer service port. Now this port is utilized when you connect your VS Code to your environment. So the developer service port then comes into the picture. If you are into snapshot debugging, then you use 7083 port. If you have a different preference, you can choose that. I'm not going to enable snapshot debugging right now, but you can if you need. And then I'm allowing my client service through the firewall. Coming down, there is the client credential, how you would like your users to connect to the database. The default option is Windows. You can have username, nav username, password, and ACS. I'm going default with Windows. And then here is your SQL Server name. If you have a SQL instance, then you provide the instance here. If you don't have it, you can keep it blank. This becomes your database name. I would love to keep it as US also, so that I know that if I restore another database of another country, I'm very clear that which database I'm connecting to. And this will install the demo license. If you enable your OData and SOAP web services, you need to provide the root URL or the base URL of the instance that you would like to provide here. This goes same for the web client. You can provide the base URL, and then this becomes your port number for your website that's hosted. And if you have a SSL certificate, then you embed your certificate thumbprint here. So let's hit apply and let's see what happens. Now the first thing that it is going is checking that on my IIS, do I have all the prerequisites that are needed for BC25, are they enabled or not? And if they are not, this process is going to enable those components. Now if my IIS is not supported at this moment with this version of Business Central, which is BC25, then I'll get an error message. Now if you look at it, it is installing the .NET Core, which is the .NET component that we saw in the system requirement article about it. If that component gets installed, it moves ahead, copies the VSIX file. Right now it is restoring the SQL Server database, the database on my SQL Server, which seems to be done, but we'll open it and see. Right now it is installing the middle tier and then connecting that to my database, which is created a while ago. So now if you look at it, there should be a BC demo database BC250 US that tells me that this component has been installed. The last thing that it is doing is installing the web server component, which allows me to access my Business Central from a browser. Now this is happening on my IIS server, and sooner, if it is not already there, I'll notice that there is, let me refresh this, it's still installing. Once it gets installed, I'll see a BC250 here, which will be my website that then I can access on the browser or my users can access from the browser to access the Business Central client. Now I surely will have to add my users if I want to give them access inside my Business Central environment, but the setup is pretty easy if you look at it right now. Hopefully I have all the prerequisites that are needed and the website gets hosted here. So let me refresh this. Okay, so it's working, it's done. So the installation is completed. Let's close this and let's come up and try to browse this. So as you can see, it's trying to load my local host, which is my local server. The 8080 port, if you remember, I have provided there. And then I'm getting an error message for BC250 right now. So let's go and just check, is my services running? Sometimes your services don't get start automatically. So right now it seems it is just starting. It's not yet started. So I'll have to wait for it to get started. Now at this moment, I know that during my installation, I gave the network service account. So I just want to make sure that my network service account have permission, which normally is given automatically during the installation process. But I just want to see that, oh, he's not DB owner, so I'll make him DB owner. For this particular database, I'm making him DB owner. Okay, that's done. Let's wait for this to refresh. Okay, it's taking some time. Let's wait for it and then we'll see what happens. So the service did not start. Let me try starting it manually. Hopefully everything is good here, but let's see. If I try to install or start the service manually, hopefully that should complete the service restart, because I did have the right database. Oh, maybe I just need to check the service tier settings. So let's open administration cell. This is this. Let me see, get nav server info server. Okay, get hyphen, yes, sorry, nav server info, get nav server. I'm bad at it with it. Let me just see what are the commands that are available. Okay, so how you get the nav server configuration. Okay, let me see, because I have manually changed the name of the database. Hopefully that should have been taken care, but I'll just check. Get nav server instance. Okay, okay, so it says stopped. Okay, nothing much here. Okay, get nav server configuration. Let's see. BC250. If I look at it, what is the database name? Because I'm interested in that, because that's the only setting that I have. Okay, so to have the right database name, let's check in the event log what's happening. Okay, so in the event log, if I get into the Windows application, I see there is an error message and it says it's already registered. Okay, so I didn't knew that I'm already using the 7046 port, and I guess that's where the problem is. So I'll have to change it. Okay, so 7046 is in use. Where is my 7046? Okay, that's called client service port. So this is the client service port, and I need to change this. So let's see, set nav, let me see what get nav server configuration. Let's do a set. Okay, let's see, the parameter key name is this, server instance is BC250. What have changed? Okay, set nav server configuration. No, that's why I like ISE for some reasons, because I can't remember all this. So okay, get nav server configuration, set nav server app configuration, set nav server instance, but this is not allowing me to set the value, which is weird. Key name is client service port, server instance is BC250, is not valid. Okay, so let's go back to our old route, because I like this, and I don't have the VS Code installed because there is a predefined extension for it, but I don't have it. Okay, so let's import the module for program files, Microsoft Dynamics Business Central 250. Okay, I'm on the wrong path, sorry for that. Let's go see program files, Business Central 250 service.ps1. Okay, let's do a get nav server configuration, and then here is BC250. Okay, I'm just looking at the sub things which I've changed. So it says nothing have been changed, so I'll have to do all. Okay, and then I'll have to get the 7045 thing, 7046 thing, which is client service port. Okay, where it went? Client service port, it's set to 7085 for some reason now. Oh, so when I ran this, it changed it to 7085. Let's try to restart it now. Let's see what happens. So when I ran it on from PowerShell, it just reset it to 7085, which should not be used till now by me, but if it is used, we'll change it again. Oh, so now it's running. So what you have done here is, when you do a client service port reset, So when you do a set nav server configuration, this is new for me. I didn't know that if you don't provide a value, it does reset it. So because I did not provide a key value, it just resetted it to the default installation value, which is 7085. But you can change it to whatever number you want. The only thing is that that number should not has been used by any other service, not just Business Central. So once this is restarted, I can actually go back here and do a refresh, because now I have a unique port associated with service, and it should be working now. Okay, no, that is a little bit off. Let's see, it's running. What does the event viewer says? Okay, let's see, maybe some other port conflict. Okay, 7046. Oh, because I have changed the port number on my service, that has not been updated into the web application. So what I have to do is I'll have to go to this website or the path, which is CINet pub, but I can go and explore it from here. And then there is a JSON file which you can see and open with code. Oh, I had VS Code. Great. Nav setting. Now in here you will also see that there is this mention of 7046, which currently in here is 7085. So these two are different configuration file, and they don't get updated when you update the other parameter. Now if you have to change it, I don't recommend doing it from here, but then there should be a set nav web server configuration. Okay, and here you can see the key name thing, which is this client service port, and the key value that I would like to assign it to now is 7085, and the web server's instance is called BC250 for me. And how I know this is here, this folder name or the file name that you see. So I'll just copy this, and instead of running it from here, I'll run it from here. Okay, so I'm updating my web service configuration to the right folder that I have loaded. And now if I do it now and refresh my thing here, where is that client service port? So if you see, the client service port has been updated, and I should be able to now access this. Let's see what happens. Hopefully this works this time, but it should be. So you just need to remember that anytime you are changing the ports, you just don't only do it on your service tier, you also will have to update your web service configuration, because these two entities are completely independent. Now just to verify, is it Business Central 25 or not, I'll just go into my extension management, because that's where I like it, and I see that I have all the extension with 25.0 23006. Having said that, things to remember which I also learned today, that if you run the set nav server configuration with a key value name and don't assign a key name and don't assign the key value, it resets it to the default value that the installation came with. The second thing is, when you change a parameter on your web server, in your nav configuration, you also have to update your nav web server configuration. Now, as I said earlier in the video, the links to the system requirement and the link to the installation component and how to download the DVD will be available in the description and the first pinned comment. And I'll see you sooner than later into the next video. One simple request: if you think this is useful, hit the like button. Please do share this video across your social media, so that it gets a better reach and people who are struggling with it understand how to solve it. If you think it's useful, then subscribe. Otherwise, it's okay. It doesn't matter much. Okay, I'll see you sooner than later into the next video. Till then, have a great day. Keep learning and keep sharing whatever you're learning. Thank you and have a nice day.